is the Singular Mental Concentration Builder Technique class. We're going to get into the details of it this time. When I get done with this, I'm hoping that you guys will be absolutely clear on how you can use it. My name is T. Levon Lawrence. I am a neurosculpting certified mental fitness trainer. I am a mental fitness instructor, and I am a business consultant, training managers and business people on how to be more focused and achieve business aims. I am also the author of the Brain Fitness blog at neurosculpting.com, and I'm the host of the Mental Power Hour online radio show at www.blogtalkradio.com. Now, what I'd like to achieve in this particular training is to make sure that you guys are well familiar with the Singular Mental Concentration Builder Technique. I want to make sure that you understand the benefits that come with mastering this technique. I also want to, some of you, when you talk to me about your training sessions, you tell me about how hard it is to get started sometime. I want to talk to you about preparatory statements and how you can use them to get into the right frame of mind to start a training session. And if you get into the habit of using preparatory statements, then that will build momentum, just as it will also build good, strong mental habits so that you won't procrastinate. We'll talk a little bit about how to overcome the types of mental resistance that you will encounter when you're using the Singular Mental Concentration Builder technique. We're going to talk about taking effective training notes. There are certain factors that will make your training notes more beneficial to you and accelerate your progress. We're going to give you an example of how to expand your own progress through real-world scenarios and practical applications. The stuff that you do here, the training techniques that you use and the training you take at the Neurosculpting Online Mental Fitness Training Studio, is not merely meant to be academic. It's not merely to make you feel good. It's to give you brain power. It's to make you a more powerful human being so that you can express more of your personal potential. And of course, we're going to answer your questions at the end of the session. Now, one thing I'd like you guys to consider, there's a book I absolutely love. It's a short story by Roald Dahl. The name of the story is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Now, there are it's part of a series of short stories by Roald Dahl. But the only one I really want you to give any attention to is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, because it's in a way it's about you and what you're trying to do. Now it is fiction. There's some fiction in this, but there's a lot of underlying truth that ties into the Singular Mental Concentration Builder. It's a great read. It doesn't take long, and it's something you'll want to keep in your library to refer back to. I would check that out. Now you can get it quick and you can get it cheap at, say, Amazon.com. As you can see, you can get, I saw today, 109 used copies that you can get starting at 1 penny. Now, usually the shipping is like $3.99 or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is you can get this for starting at about a penny. I would get this story. I think when you read it, you'll understand why it ties in and why it's so helpful and useful for you. So get The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. If you get a chance, get it cheap at Amazon.com. What are the benefits of mastering the Singular Mental Concentration Builder? In everything you do at the Neurosculpting Online Mental Fitness Training Studio, we have 4 measures of success. Okay? There's 4 things we can use to know that you're succeeding. And this is in addition to the benefits that you can get in your personal life. The first measure of success we have is skills acquisition based on your baseline measurements. How good are you becoming at that specific technique? In the case of the Singular Mental Concentration Builder, when you start out, are you able to maintain good, solid, uncorrupted mental concentration for more than just a couple minutes? After you've been practicing for about a month, can you do it for 5 to 7 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes? That's skills acquisition based on baseline measurements. When you want to do a baseline measurement, you take any technique, perform it 3 times. Well, take techniques that can be timed, okay, because some techniques you don't time. You want to take a technique that you can time. You do it 3 times. You add those times together, divide by 3. That's your average time for that technique. You want to beat that average time by when you get around to measuring your baseline the next time. And I recommend you don't do baseline measurements except maybe once a month or once every couple of weeks. There's no need to try to do it every day. I was speaking to a fellow earlier on phone training, and he told me that on this technique he was stopping his timer every time he found himself distracted. In this case, you don't need to stop your timer. You can go all the way through. The only time you need to really use that timer to stop it in order to measure your length and endurance of concentration is on the baseline measurements. The other measure of success is knowledge acquisition based on your training sessions. Are you learning what you need to know to be a better mental performer as a result of your training sessions? This I can easily tell, just as you can easily tell, by you doing your mental exercise, using your mental exercise tracking sheet or using a journal to take notes. The mental exercise tracking sheet is designed to help you forego a journal and take detailed notes, track your training sessions. Are you really learning? For instance, on the Singular Mental Concentration Builder, you're having to control your attention in defiance of all kinds of distraction, including thoughts, external distractions. If you can do that for 10 minutes, that means you have to know certain things. You have to be able to recognize when a distraction is tempting you. You literally, in order to get to 7 to 10 minutes of performance time, you have to be able to detect the onset of thought before it hypnotizes you and snatches away your attention. So if you can do that in a training session, you can definitely do it when you're at work. You can do it when you're studying. You can do it when you're in a conversation with someone. That's knowledge acquisition. Other benefits, the other measures of success are symptom reductions based on your assessments. When you join the NeuroSculpting Mental Fitness Training Studio, there are assessments that you can do. You can do an assessment for your mental performance and mental concentration, mental focus, and in willpower. Now in this case, since we're talking about mental concentration, you can take any aspect of that assessment. For instance, let's say that when someone is talking to you, your attention tends to wander. That's a symptom of weak mental concentration, weak attention control skills. Well, after you've been training with the Singular Mental Concentration Builder for 30 days or so, that symptom should be improving for you if you set that for a goal and if you focused on it. If you're able to focus your mind onto a single object at will for lengthy periods of time, let's say 5 minutes, 7 minutes, then you can do the same thing when you're in a conversation with someone, no matter how long they drone on. You can hold your attention on the target, even if it's just the sound of their voice. Because in the Singular Mental Concentration Builder, it's a sensory exercise and an attention control exercise. Your target is visual, right? You have a dot or you have a candle there. You have a visual target. But you can do the same thing with a smell. You can do the same thing with a sound. You can do the same thing with a feel on your skin or like the breeze blowing. You can single in, you can narrow in on any stimuli and hold your attention to it. And we'll talk about that in a bit. And the final measure of success is practical application based on your life goals. What are your goals in life? Is this training technique helping you achieve that goal easier? For instance, if you're trying to get your master's degree, does this improvement in mental concentration help you study more, help you be more productive? If you're in business, does improving your mental concentration using this technique help you stay on course in your day so that you're not running around like a chicken with its head cut off, so that you're getting done the top priorities of the day? That's the practical application benefit that you want to get out of this, and you can. Now, those are the four measures of success. In addition to that, you're going to get benefits in your mental life, your physical life, your spiritual life, your social life, and your financial life. You would be amazed how many financial problems will be resolved merely by you being able to concentrate and control your attention rather than be swept up by mindless impulses that cause you to make financial mistakes. It's amazing. I have one trainee, very, very smart individual, very bright in the financial world, who came to me because he wanted to be able to make more money in his trading business, and he suspected that the reason he wasn't making as much money as he knows he can is because he would lose focus during the trading day because of emotional stress and anxiety that would come in and cause him to worry rather than focus on what he's supposed to be doing. Now, here's somebody who knows how to make money in the stock market, and the only thing getting in his way is his own thoughts and emotions. Well, training through Singular Mental Concentration Builder is certainly going to help that guy make more money because he's not going to allow those mental distractions to take him off task in his trading day. He's going to make a lot more money. He's got a great system. He knows what he's doing. He knows what to do, when to do it in order to make money over the long term. So that's a benefit there. So mental, physical, spiritual, social, and financial perks abound if you master this technique. Now, of course, in the Mental Fitness Training Studio, we have something called the Training Diamond. It used to be just the Training Triad, but we added attention control training to make it into a diamond. It's better that you're balanced in all four categories: sensory techniques, intellectual techniques, attention control techniques, and intuitive techniques. If you're really good at least one technique out of all four of those, you're pretty much unstoppable. So, now under the neural sculpting system, because we're still talking about benefits here, I talked about how your assessments, like we talked about the mental concentration assessment, and we talked about one of the symptoms of weak mental concentration being that you can't pay attention to conversations without your mind starting to drift. The success system under neural sculpting is that once you do the assessment, which is up in the upper left-hand corner there, the assessment type in red, once you know what your issue is, you then rate how often that occurs and how much it impacts your life. When you know that, then you can, in the blue off to the mid-right side, you can then set training goals. You can say, okay, I know that I have this symptom. My mind starts to wander in conversations. Well, that means my mind probably wanders in other areas too. I want to get rid of the entire mental wandering problem. So, as you go over to the right and you see the orange solution set, you decide that you're going to go into a particular training category and choose a technique that's going to help you resolve that problem. In this case, we're using Singular Mental Concentration Builder because that will definitely teach you how to control your attention so that your mind does not wander. Not only will your mind stay put in conversations, it will stay put when you're studying, it will stay put when you're working, everything. So that would be your solution set. And of course, there's the four measures of success: the skills acquisition, you will learn how to concentrate; symptom reduction, your mind will cease to wander; verification, you can go into a conversation and stay put all the way through; and then of course you can choose new friends to talk to once you discover that the people you're talking to are speaking a bunch of nonsense all the time. Then you do a targeted reassessment. That is when you measure your skills. You can literally say, you can go back through your assessment and say, okay, my attention was wandering in conversations on a habitual basis. Now it hardly happens at all. You know you succeeded. And then once you know you've made success in that particular area, you can then set another training objective. Okay, you've overcome the mental wandering. Now let's be more productive. You see, you set a new goal. So those are the benefits of a technique like Singular Mental Concentration Builder. Now, when you start to do your techniques, and I hear this all the time from trainees, you want to be in the right frame of mind in order to start your training sessions. I'm human too. Okay, when it's time for me to do physical exercise, I have to get myself in the mindset to do it. Fortunately, I'm a mental fitness trainer. I have mental concentration and mental focus and willpower, and I am well practiced at doing those things. But if you are not well practiced in doing those things, you're going to need some tools, some help to get you over the hump, even if you have to get over the hump every single day until you no longer need to use so many crutches. One of the tools you can use, for me, one of the most powerful tools, is a preparatory statement. A preparatory statement is a declaration, a declarative statement by you that sets the parameters for your training session. It's broken up into 4 areas. Before I go over those, I'm going to let you know why this is so profound. When you do declarative statements, you are telling yourself, you are telling your own mind and speaking into your own subconscious that this is how things are going to be, at least for this 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes that's ahead of me. You set that stage and you tell your own mind this is how it's going to be. You are focusing in on that moment and setting aside all distractions, and you are literally placing a barrier around yourself, around your own mind. Do this over and over and over again, and you won't just, it's a habit you'll develop, and it won't be just in your training sessions. You'll do it when it comes time to study, when you walk into a classroom, when you walk into the office, when you're spending time with the people you love. You will not allow distraction to come in. Of course, you'll find you're probably one of the only undistracted people you know, but again, it's worth it. The preparatory statement is how you're going to resolve problems such as procrastination, mental resistance, other distractions. Preparatory statement, that's the key. Now, it's broken up into 4 parts. You're telling yourself that this is your time, this is your mind, okay? What you're going to do during this time, and that there's nothing else as important as that. In your preparatory statement, you'll write something that says this is your time. And it'll go something to this effect. I've set aside this 30 minutes for the exclusive and singular purpose of training my attention so that it will work more effectively to achieve my goals. Now, you don't have to write that exactly. You can write it in your own way, but you're basically stating, okay, I am putting a barrier around this time. Then you're stating that this is your mind. It's your mind, guys. It's your brain. You have the right to stand guard and be in authority when it comes to your own mind. So the statement you put together may be something like this. I have the ability to think any thought I choose to think at any moment I wish, because I am the thinker and the owner of my own mind. Therefore, I know that I also have the ability to quiet this mind that is under my authority. Now, isn't that something? You have the ability to think any thought at any time. You have this creative ability. That means there is a thinker behind the thought. That means you also have the ability to not think. But that's a skill you develop through techniques like the Singular Mental Concentration Builder. The other area is, I will tolerate no interference. And for that, you might write something like, I now bring the full scope of my attention to focus on this work and this work alone. No distractions from outside myself shall steal my attention. I will treat every instance of chattering thought as though it were merely a bird passing beneath me as I stand on the mountaintop, keeping my attention on my task. That there, folks, is setting the parameter. That right there tells your subconscious mind that you have absolutely no interest whatsoever in the nonsense that pops into your head during a training session. And it is nonsense. I had a great fellow today tell me that one of the things that I want you to eventually get to is that you practice anytime, anywhere attention control. And in order for you to get good at practicing anytime, anywhere attention control, you have to become excellent at every time, everywhere attention control. That means every part of your day is an opportunity for you to get better at mastering your attention and using mental concentration in one form or another, because there are various forms and degrees of mental concentration. So to get to anytime, anywhere skill, you need to practice every time, everywhere. That means all day long. There is nothing you do that you cannot use attention control with, and there's nothing you do that you should not use attention control with. Everything benefits. Everything is part of your classroom. So in this particular statement, when this fellow says, no distractions from outside myself shall steal my attention, and I will treat every instance of chattering thought as though it were merely a bird passing beneath me as I stand on the mountaintop, keeping my attention on my task, he's setting the parameters there of how he's going to look at the chattering noise and nonsense that goes on in his head. And when you practice every time, everywhere attention control, you will absolutely see that the thoughts that you think all day long and the voice you speak to yourself in when you're talking to yourself all day long, that is not you. That is conditioned thinking programmed into your brain like a tape recorder. You merely identify with it because it keeps you company and has kept you company every day, all day, for years. But you're going to discover the thinker behind the thought, and it's a different lifestyle. And finally, the last portion, there is nothing more important than this right here, what I'm about to do. Nothing is more important than this. And that slams the door on any temptation by any distraction that can occur during that session. There is no excuse after that. And your statement may go something like this. This work is the most important thing that I can do right now, and I reject all other concerns until I have completed this vital, priceless task. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. You want to make more money in your life? You want your business to grow? You want to set yourself apart from others in your career field? You want to get ahead in the academic world? This statement here is where you'll center your purpose. Learning how to prioritize and shut the door. That is will, when you can consciously do that. So, the preparatory statement sets the stage for you to go into your training session fired up, raring to go, ready to chew steel and spit nails. Get good at the preparatory statement. There is training on the preparatory statement in the training studio. When you go in, look for the comprehensive overview, or go into the Brain Training Boot Camp and look for there's a section on preparatory statements. Brain Training Boot Camp. When you log in, go to the right-hand side. You'll see the menu. Click on Brain Training Boot Camp, and you'll see a training module on preparatory statements. So, Let's talk a little bit about the singular mental concentration builder technique. The exercise category, because remember all these exercises fall under certain categories, sensory and attention control. This is a sensory technique because you're using your eyes and you're aiming your eyes onto a particular target. There are numerous scientific studies that show very conclusively that eye control training improves your mental discipline. It improves your executive control function, the forward part of your brain that controls the rest of your life. It gives you self-control. So if you're someone who suffers from impulsivity, this is a great technique for you to use if you want to calm down and get control of yourself. It's also an attention control category exercise. It's a very basic technique. It's simple to do. Not necessarily easy, but it is simple to do. The areas of improvement that you'll get from this technique are: you will improve your attention control, you will improve your targeting of your attention, you'll be able to place it where you want, when you want, and you'll be improving your mental resolve because you're going to have to stay on target. It's a gut check when you have your eyes on that target and there's temptation. Hey, I'm a thought. Come dance with me. Let me hypnotize you and take you away. Your resolve says, no, I'm going to stick with my target. And then you do. You're going to improve your self-control because when you control your attention, you are controlling yourself. William James wrote quite a long time ago, effort of attention is the essential phenomenon of will. Attention control is self-control. And you will be, of course, improving your overall ability for mental concentration. Your perceptual focus when you use this technique, where you're aiming your perception, it's going to be close up, okay, because this is your target is about arm's length from you, as opposed to far off in the distance. I'm not telling you to look at a bird flying off in the distance. No, the candle or the dot is close up to you, and it's outside of yourself. It's external, okay? The mental exertion type, the way you're going to be straining your brain as you build new connections and wiring in your brain, you're going to be directing your attention. It's called attention directing. Why is this brain training? Because you are lifting weights, and you're lifting weights in what way? By directing your attention where you need it to go. You're building your brain power by holding your attention where you want it to go. There's nothing natural about people consciously holding attention where they need it to be. Most people have their attention on a target for a long time, not because it's voluntary, but because it's reactionary. You are deciding that you're going to hold your attention on there, and your attention is going to want to move. It is natural for your attention to want to move, and you're going to hold it. That's why you're going to be rewiring your brain for strength and endurance. You're going to be placing your attention onto an external object. So you're going to be directing your attention and holding your attention onto an external object. That's the kind of exertion, the kind of work you're going to be doing with your brain. The application level, how does this apply? This improves your task concentration. Remember, there are 3 levels of concentration. There's task concentration, where you're mainly concerned with getting things done. People become millionaires and billionaires with task concentration. Then of course, the other 2 are self-concentration and life concentration. We'll go over those. Mostly you don't need it. That's why we focus on task concentration. Now, what are you going to need for this technique? You're going to need a timer or a stopwatch or a clock with an alarm to notify you that the session is over. If you are going to be trying to if you're going to try to see how good you are at this technique, you're going to measure your time, then you'll actually just go ahead, and if you become distracted, you'll stop. But for the way we're training here, you just need it to let you know, hey, your 15 minutes is up, your 20 minutes is up, your 30 minutes is up. And I'll tell you this, when you guys get to the point where you're doing this for 30 minutes, oh my gosh, you're going to learn some amazing things. I had a fellow tell me earlier today how shocked he was to discover just how disobedient his mind was, how every few minutes he would simply forget what he was doing. Well, that's the habit, but that habit will simply get better. So you're going to need a timer, stopwatch, or a clock, and it needs to have an alarm to notify you the session is over. So when you begin, you're going to set your alarm. Whether you want to do it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30, I recommend you start out for 15 because, you're going to be working. I'm surprised you don't have on a hard hat, some gloves with a jackhammer. This is some serious work here, okay? So start out 15 minutes until you feel more comfortable doing it. Take a break 5 minutes, then go another 15 minutes. Me, I start out at 30 minutes, and then I work my way up. You guys start with 15 minutes. So you got your alarm set, right? You're now going to, if you don't already have it, you're going to draw a small dot on a piece of paper or cardstock. Me, I like to use a postcard, or sometimes I'll just take a piece of notebook paper, fold it, draw the small dot on it. Now, when you draw the dot, and I say small, it can't be so tiny that you have to strain to look at it, but the dot cannot be so big that when you gaze into the dot, there's a lot of room and your eyes start to wander around the dot. That's too big, okay? I mean, it just makes sure it's a comfortably sized dot to where your eyes don't wander around once you're gazing into it, but not so small that you have to get eye strain. Or you can do like a lot of people and use a candle. Now, if you're using candle and you're dealing with flame and fire, I want you to keep safety in mind. Don't want you burning down your house or your dormitory or anything like that. Make sure you keep safety in mind. Now, if you have a candle, if you have a candle holder, that's something that'll catch the hot wax, that's good because we don't want to make a mess. So be careful. Place the target at arm's length, eye level or slightly above. If you hold your arm straight out in front of you, okay, and then just kind of raise it up to where your eyes are, that's a good thing. And why do we have it this way? I want your eyes to be looking straight ahead at the target or just slightly above. If your eyes are looking down or if your head is bowed, that is a sleeping or relaxation physiology. We do not want you to be slouching or have any form of lazy physiology, because if your head is down, if your eyes are down, you're going to get tired quickly. If your head is up and your eyes are looking straight ahead, you're going to have more energy. It's wired into your brain. And if your eyes are slightly above, you'll have more energy. But here's one thing you don't do. Don't have your eyes looking upward a lot, because that may increase your distraction, because that eyes up position actually activates the creative centers of your brain, and the next thing you know, you're getting all these fantastic, amazing ideas halfway through the training session, and then you have to fight and wrestle with those. We want to try to narrow down the number of unnecessary distractions. Now, there may be times when you say to yourself, okay, I want to try to do some creative block busting. Then you know, because you heard it from me, that you can set yourself down in a quiet place, put your eyes slightly up, relax your breathing, relax your physiology while staying straight up without slouching. And if you can get your mind quiet, you'll get amazing ideas on any topic with which you're familiar. So that is a good technique, but not for this. Don't raise your eyes up high. Just keep them at eye level or slightly above. Go ahead and start your timer, and then you're going to turn every single ounce of your attention to that target, to the dot or to the flame. When I do it, I literally, it's a mental thing, but I pour myself into it. It becomes so interesting to me that the dot itself appears to grow and magnify. It's an amazing experience. Now me, I can't do the candle flame. I don't know what it is. It really irritates my eyes to look into a candle for an extended period of time. But many people absolutely swear by it. Me, I do the dot, and I'm telling you, the dot can seem to fill the whole world when your concentration is, it's like it grows while you're in it. Because your attitude is that that target is the most interesting thing in the world, things around you are going to start to kind of fade away into background noise. The room around you will kind of start to fade away. And sometimes you just see kind of like a white or whatever you see, but the details start to fade. But the details of the target become crystal clear. And your eyes may want to move because it's natural for the eyes to move around. But what you're doing is you're holding them on target and you're not straining. Now here's the thing. Don't let your eyes become so dried out that they become irritated. It is okay for you to blink. Blinking should not distract you. Just blink quickly and stay on target. And you can always come back to target. Okay? Remember, that attention target is the only thing that matters for the entire duration of your timed session. Nothing else matters. Remember your preparatory statement. Nothing. And you will be shocked at some of the just crazy things that happen in your thoughts and in your mind to try to convince you that such is not the case. Your mind, your subconscious mind will start to pull up all kinds of crazy scenarios to tempt you into thinking, into self-conversation. None of that is important. Your conversation to yourself, your self-talk is utterly irrelevant. The target is the only thing that matters. Every ounce of your attention into the target. Allow nothing outside yourself to pull your attention away from your target or lose track of your task. And you know this, if you've tried this already, you'll suddenly realize, you didn't even know you went to sleep mentally. You didn't even know that you were hypnotized by a thought. You just suddenly snap to and go, oh, doggone it, thought got me again. I forgot what I was supposed to be doing. Hey, just come back to the target. But you'll get to the point where you can detect those things before they snatch you away, before they hypnotize you, before they steal your attention. You will feel a tug on your physiology, a tug on your mind as a thought or an inner conversation starts to rise up, and you can feel the chemical surge in your system just tempting you. Go with me. Go with me. I'm so beautiful. I'm just this great thought. Just go with me. I'm so necessary. Nonsense. Stay with your target. Always. If you do become distracted, your only reaction is to go back to the target and pour yourself back into it. No self-talk. No self-criticism. No questions. Just stay with your target. Remember your preparatory statement. It is the most important thing in the world and the only thing that matters. Your self-talk, your self-criticism, those are not your targets. Your target is your target. When your alarm sounds, take a short break, and if you want to try it again, do so. Give yourself 5 minutes or so, and then you can try it again if you wish. Now, personally, when I first discovered this technique, I was on it like a madman. I was going 3-4 hours a day because I was desperate. You do not have to do that. But at least do 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day if you can, or combine it with other mental training exercises to try to give yourself at least 45 minutes a day. It's for your benefit. We're talking about your life here. So next we're going to deal with overcoming, let me back this up here. We're going to deal with overcoming the kind of mental resistance that you will inevitably encounter when doing the technique. You need to be aware of the 4 horsemen of mental resistance. These are natural, okay? So don't be surprised when they pop up. First one is wandering attention. Your attention will tend to wander into two areas. It will wander into thought. That means your thought and your self-talk starts to appear, and then you just go off into it like it's a Disney a ride at Disney World. Okay, you got to watch out for that. You don't want to do that. Your self-talk and your thoughts irrelevant during this particular session. Attention will also wander off into external distractions. You hear a noise, you hear somebody's TV or radio suddenly start to blare, you hear dogs barking. Bring your attention back to your target. The other horseman is impulsivity. You just feel like moving around. The only thing you need to make sure, guys, is that your physiology is relaxed enough, but not slouching. Make sure your breathing is deep and even, but otherwise, there's no reason for you to get up. That urge for you to get up and move around, no. That's not the important thing. Your need to move around, forget that. Stay with your target. Endure the discomfort of being still. You will discover many times that impulsivity is preceded by chaotic thoughts that you didn't even know were going on. If you resolve the thoughts, most of the time you're going to resolve the impulsivity. The thoughts kick off the physiological impulse and urge in your body. You calm those thoughts, there's a chemical change, and your muscles start to relax, and you can sit and relax and concentrate and focus for longer and longer periods of time. The other horseman is mental and physical fatigue. Take care of your bodies, guys. In the training studio, in the brain training boot camp, you'll see a training module on eating for greater brain power. You guys should check that out. Eating for greater brain power. Your brain is part of your body. What happens to the body happens to the brain. So make sure that you're getting good nutrition that produces energy rather than consumes energy. And sometimes that's a matter of the combinations of foods that you're using. If you are eating foods that cause you to be tired afterwards, you're not going to have great training sessions. You have to eat foods that are going to produce energy for you, okay? And remember, when it comes to overcoming mental resistance that you encounter during your training session, your target is your target. They're fighting and wrestling with thoughts and internal conversations. Those things are not your targets. You should not be giving them attention. Give all your attention to your target no matter what. How do you know you're fully distracted? This is if you are distracted, because we're still talking about resistance here. If you totally forget what you're doing, you've been hijacked. If something outside yourself causes you to detach from your target to give attention to it, you're distracted. Not fully distracted is when you know these things are occurring, but you're still maintaining your target. Thought comes up, tries to distract you. You know it's there, but you got your target, and you're doing everything you can to stay on target. As long as you're doing that and you have not forgotten, if you have not been hijacked, then you are not fully distracted, and you can count that as a successful moment in the session. You hold that target until that distraction fades away. That is victory, because that's what you're going to apply later on in your day at the office, in the classroom, because that's the way it works. That's the way it works for me, and I've been doing this for years. If I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I'm trying to get reading done and there's all kinds of noise going on, I'm able to tune it out. It's like it doesn't even exist. But if I suddenly see somebody, a woman in red, walking past me, I will be aware that it's there because of the color change, okay? But my mind says, ignore it, go back to the target. I'm aware of the target, but I'm staying on course. That is the way it works. And if I stay on target long enough, that even the lady in the red dress will fade off into nothing in my mind. Now, taking effective notes. Your notes are designed to accelerate your training by allowing you to remember what you did during training so that you can creatively find a way to apply it to your life. When you take notes, you want to make sure you put the date, the amount of time you used on the technique, okay, and which technique you used. You want to make sure you note whatever obstacles you encounter. We just went over the obstacles. You want to note down what you did to try to overcome them. Was it successful? If not successful, what else can you try? And then you want to ask yourself the question, what does it mean? What does this mean? And how can that lesson be applied to the rest of my life? If I'm doing singular mental concentration and I find myself in self-talk and I keep having to bring myself back to my target, that means such is happening in the rest of my life. So I'm going to look for that during the rest of my day. When I go to the library and I need to do some studying, I'm going to look for that self-talk. I'm going to look for that mental drift. And I'm going to do just like I do in the training sessions. I'm going to bring myself back to the target. When I'm in a conversation with someone and my mind starts to drift, I'm going to bring myself back to the target. And remember, you have a mental exercise training tracker that you can use in the studio. You'll find it when you go to the first month of training, right there, your beginning in your starter stuff. Get your training tracker. It has the date, the time you did, the exercise, the problems you encountered, the stuff you did to overcome it, and personal notes. Training in real life scenarios. I'm going to give you one scenario where this will help you. And the example is in conversations. You practice holding your attention onto the visual stimuli in the singular mental concentration builder. Okay? That means you can do it. If you can do it for 5-7 minutes, that means you can do anything in the real world. So when you're having a conversation with someone, try to do some listening. Use that auditory stimuli, the sound itself, to try to stay with that stream. Instead of you jumping in to talk over them, listen to these folks. Watch them. Hold your mind on the person who's talking to you. You'll be shocked at some of the things you pick up and some of the things you realize, okay? And it'll tell you about them, and it'll even tell you about yourself. That's one example. And if you can stay keyed in to a conversation for a long time in mental concentration, people will find you more interesting. You will learn more and know more than other people who you hang around in social situations, because you will probably be the only one who's genuinely listening. And of course, that affects other areas of your life. It's not just a single area, okay? So that's one example of applying the single mental concentration builder. Of course, you can do it. You know that you can apply it in other ways. You can make sure that you keep your attention on target when you're studying. Keep your attention on target when you're doing your taxes. Keep your attention on target when you're hanging with your family. Avoid thinking about work because you're trying to concentrate. And you can practice the singular mental concentration builder on more than just the candle and the dot. You can use all 5 senses. You can find a way to practice singular mental concentration on a physical sensation, singular mental concentration on an auditory stimuli like a sound or a note. You can even reproduce things in your mind. You can reproduce a dot or a candle flame in your own mind. You can reproduce a sound in your mind. There's all kinds of ways to practice this technique.